Drawing noses is easier than you think, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can do it, no matter your skill level. This video is made so that you can learn how to draw any kind of nose you want in any kind of angle you want using any kind of drawing tool you have at hand. So here I'm working in Procreate on the iPad Pro, but you can follow along using whatever, including pencil and paper. Totally fine here, and we're just about the technique of drawing the nose itself. And the video itself is going to be split in a few different chapters. We're going to start by just looking at the magic formula on how to draw any kind of noses. Then we're going to look at how to change that formula to draw different kind of noses so that you can really customize your characters. Then we're going to learn some pro tips on how to easily shade a nose. And then we're going to finish up by looking at how we can use the magic formula to draw noses in different angles. And there's also a cheat sheet that you can download for free, so pause the video, go check it out in the description below. It comes with a bunch of other freebies, and then we're going to jump right into it. So to draw a nose, you only need three things. One basic shape, which is often going to be a circle, and then two smaller circles on either side of that basic shape. Now once you have those, it's really easy. All you have to do is use these little corners where the small circles connect with the big shape, and use those to map out the nostrils. And then the side of the small circles are going to become the edges of the nose. Now the top of the circle you could use as well if you wanted to have really a kind of cute pointy nose. You would just add a tiny curve at the top of your main shape. So that is really the basic magic formula for drawing any noses. Now you can adapt it to any kind of shape nose you want to really personalize your characters. So let's say we keep going with just a few circles. I could have a smaller circle for my main shape. I could also play with the height of these smaller circles. So let's say I put them a little bit lower. Then same thing, you just use the little corners to draw your nostrils. Maybe adding a little bit of a curve between the nostrils to show the bottom part of the nose. Otherwise, same thing, we accentuate the sides of the nose and maybe the top if we want. But you really don't have to just use circles for the middle shape. You could go with any kind of shape you want. So let's say I go in with a rectangle. And then same thing, adding two circles on the side. Drawing the nostrils. And reinforcing the side of the nose. Now from there, if you're looking to have just some sort of line art in your final illustration, what you could do is either erase over those construction lines and then go back in with the pen or the pencil you're using for your line art. If you're working digitally, what I would usually recommend doing is just lowering the opacity of your sketch to then go back in with, for example, a new layer named line art, your line art color, and then just tracing over the lines you want to have in your line art. If you're going for an illustration or a drawing that has more than just line art, so you want to have a bit of shading, it's super easy to. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new layer. If you're working digitally, that's what I would usually do. I would create a new layer between the line art and the sketch and then rename it to, whatever. Here it's just going to be noses, so I'm just going to rename it to nose. And I would personally keep my sketch because it's going to be super helpful to see the volumes of the nose. And then just going in with a pretty neutral version of my base color here, I'm just going to go with gray. You can just gently brush over the entire section of the nose, lifting it upwards a little bit towards, well, above the ball of the nose, I guess. Then coming in either with a darker version of your base color, or if you're working with pencil and paper, just pressing harder. You could reinforce the shadow on the bottom part of the nose. And if you want to really sculpt the nose and make it look super cartoonish, you could also reinforce the shadow following the top edge of your base circle. So essentially here on the two sides, and maybe a little bit above that base circle as well. Then coming back in to make sure your nostrils are super, super dark. And finishing up with the eraser coming on the top of the ball of the nose. So we have the base circle. I'm just going to put it above so you can see a little bit better. So at the top of the base circle, probably the top half, you can erase very lightly. You can also erase a little bit to sculpt the bridge of the nose if you want. And I also like to just erase a little bit on the sides, just to make the side of the nose pop a little bit more. And same thing just above the nostrils, very gently. And if you want a super cartoonish or kind of manga look maybe too, you can add a few like highlight dots on the top of the nose. So if we hide the construction lines, we can see easy nose. Now personally, this style I feel like doesn't go super well with really intense line art, at least for the edges. So what I personally would do if I was to actually shade the nose is I would have just a little bit of softer sides right here, but still keeping the nostrils really dark, of course. Let's do another example to kind of use that as a recap for shading. Let's do it on this rectangle nose just to see how many options you have in terms of shaping your nose. Using a lighter gray, brushing over the entire nose as well as the area around the bridge of the nose. Then coming back in with a darker version of your color and doing the bottom part of the nose. And sculpting around the base shape as you want. Now this nose is, really quite intense. That would be definitely for some sort of a cartoon look. You can see that already with just using a different base shape, positioning the smaller circles at a different height, you can get a totally different nose. And then same thing, once you're done with the shading, just coming back in with the eraser to finish shaping up the nose. So here, since I'm working with more of an angular shape or like a rectangle instead of a sphere, I'm gonna go ahead and highlight the middle maybe to have really kind of this more masculine broad nose. But then same thing, just kind of erasing the side of the nose a little bit to make them pop. Maybe highlighting the bottom, again, just to make it pop. It's not super realistic to do that, but I find that it really helps the nose kind of come to life. And maybe here adding a highlight kind of on the side, like a long line. And there we go. If we just hide the construction lines, we have, a totally different nose. Once more here, the line art would be a little bit too intense, so either just not having it to start with, or just gently erasing it a little bit on the edges at least. Now, the beauty of the magic trick, other than the fact that it's super easy and that you can totally customize it, is that it works for any angle that your nose is in. So let's say we want to draw a nose that is at a slight angle, so not seen as like straight from the front or straight from the side, just some sort of angle. What I would recommend doing is turning this base shape into either a sphere or a box if you're working with a rectangle. So just turning your base shape in a base form essentially. And to do that here with the sphere, it would just be a case of very loosely drawing a couple construction lines just to help us then place the smaller two circles. Otherwise, the other steps are pretty much the same, meaning you are going to draw the nostril, and from any kind of in-between angle like this, you would still use that connection point here as a guide to draw the nostril, but the nostril is going to appear a little bit taller because you can see a little bit more into the nostril when it's on the side and not just straight out for the front. So it would look a little bit more like this. And then you can use your circle to draw the front of the nose. Extend it however you want. And then just use your small circles as guide to draw the side of the nose. So if I was real quick to create a line art for this one, it would look something like this. Now that's quite a thick nose, but you get the idea. And a nose seen straight from the side is even easier. Just draw your basic main shape again. And then you only have to draw one small circle on the side, like this. But this time the nostril is going to be a little bit different. It's actually going to connect with that side circle and extend towards the front like this. And then you get to draw whatever kind of profile you want for the nose itself. So I guess let's go with something like this. And let's finish this up with a bit of a line art action once more. A nice dark nostril. Connecting it to the side. And then really drawing any kind of profile you want. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more drawing tips and tricks, I highly recommend you check out this playlist because I have a bunch more for you. But before you leave, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the weekly videos I post every Tuesday and Saturday. Then click on the link right here and I'll meet you there.